Welcome everybody to the first meeting of the Environmental and Sustainable Travel Subcommittee of East Grinstead Town Council. What a monumentous meeting this is going to be, and a committee. Normally the town mayor is going to open these sorts of meetings, but he can't make it through personal reasons. So the deputy mayor will be opening the meeting, which is moi. First item of the agenda is public participation. We don't have any public to participate with, so that's all fine. We're going to move swiftly on to item number 1 of the agenda, which is the election of chair.
I'd like to propose yourself, Councillor.
Oh, that's very kind of you, John.
And I would be more than happy to second that.
Oh, that's super. Thank you very much. All those in favour?
Chairman approved. Congratulations.
Item number 2 is the election of vice chair. I would like to propose Councillor John Belsey.
Funny enough, I'd be happy to second that.
Thank you, Councillor.
And all in favour.
All in favour.
Lovely, thank you.
Awesome. Apologies for absence. We've got town mayor that we know of, and I know that Councillor Farron is on her way from work, so she will be here in a few minutes.
Yep.
I'm not entirely sure about Councillor Belsey and Councillor Gibbs and Councillor Pond.
Isn't Mrs. Belsey away?
Yeah.
Oh, she's away. That's.
I think Councillor Gibbs is away as well.
Is he? Okay.
I saw pictures of
Right,
him
so
in
we'll take
Bristol.
Councillor Belsey. Sorry, Councillor Gibbs, was that?
Is he on holiday?
Away. That's lovely.
Yeah.
That goes down as personal commitment. We don't put away in the agenda in the minutes. That's fine.
Item number 4, receive members' declarations of interests.
I wouldn't have thought at the moment, no. Might be worth just noting our Mid Sussex District Councillors, as some of the documents we're looking at are Mid Sussex District Councillors.
Oh yes, okay.
Generated.
So, Councillor Mrs. Montford.
And I'm a standing Mid Sussex District Councillor.
Forgot the 2 heavyweights district councillors in this subcommittee.
Saying,
From gravitas perspective.
not
No.
I don't see any issues every time, but I just think it's worthwhile.
Yeah.
Because of we are going to be looking at documents which have been provided by the district, and yeah, it's probably just worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no one on the any environmental committees of Mid Sussex or anything like that, is it? No. Okay. So we're going to then swiftly move on to the terms of reference. So we've got the proposed terms are in the agenda, which.
So just to remind you, Chairman, the terms of reference have to be approved by your parent committee, but you are effectively determining them today, and then part of your report that you send in to F&GP will be for them to approve your terms of reference. So just to be aware that they can make alterations to them if they see fit. Exceptionally unlikely, but it is possible.
Okay. And I won't take offence if they do, because it's a lot of blood, sweat and tears on it. I'll read it out. So in terms of reference, point number 1, subcommittee report to F&GP. That's fairly straightforward. Number 2, members of subcommittee in this civic year are as per the agenda, which is myself and Councillor Pond, plus the town mayor, Councillor Belsey, Councillor Mrs. Montford, Councillor Gibbs, and Councillor Mrs. Belsey as well. So chair and vice chair of planning and chair and vice chair of F&GP, plus town mayor, plus environmental and sustainable travel independence. Item number 3, subcommittee will elect their own chair and vice chair at the first meeting each civic year. Subcommittee will review the environmental plan as approved by the Finance and General Purposes Committee in September last year. Committee will propose, design and lead on projects on that plan and suggest funding streams to assist the council with their environmental plan and to reduce carbon footprint of the council. Subcommittee will have specific interest in looking at connectivity around the town, working alongside West Sussex County Council and Mid Sussex, specifically with the LC WIP, in order to reduce congestion, air pollution and carbon emissions, improve safety into the East Grinstead parish. We'll propose a budget to the Finance and General Purposes Committee in advance of September each year in order to appropriately allocate budgeted funds to those projects. Committee will suggest observations regarding new developments and safe and active travel to the Planning Committee, and will suggest policy inclusions or revisions for a review of the neighbourhood plan. and will also support the council's vision for delivery of a fully inclusive bike week and other active travel initiatives. And also, last but not least, item number 10, the subcommittee will also be able to access the environmental and sustainable project allocation in the budget for agreed schemes. It's quite broad. So the idea was that really we can get our teeth into, a lot of different projects to help progress the town's ambitions for active travel in the environment and sustainable travel rather. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on those terms of reference at all, if you guys are happy with them.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Basically, I just wanted to make sure that we have the terms of reference wide enough to cover what we envisage this committee doing. And the only comments I had was just, obviously, we're reviewing the environmental plan as approved by the Finance General Purposes Committee 26 September 22. Are we happy? Does that mean everything that we do from an environmental perspective has to come from that plan? If as other things come forward, are we allowed to introduce other ideas that might not be featured in the plan, or is there enough scope in that respect? And then just secondly, the LC WIP, because obviously the LC WIP is going to be owned by West Sussex, and obviously the District Council put that forward. And some of the schemes can be really expensive when they come forward, and West Sussex will have to, we will have to bid for funding for those projects. And so I suppose just trying to manage people's expectations. It's not really the town council paying for implementation of the LC WIP. And so just trying to understand a little bit more what we envisage our role on that to be. Is it going to be lobbying for specific schemes and priorities and making sure that we're fighting for our fair share from a West Sussex perspective? I just maybe could we get just some clarity around that? Thank you.
Let's try and give you some clarity on those two questions rather than just the one question. Which I noted you say, I've just got a question, but you put in two. I've noticed that. Yeah. No, in answer to your question for number one, there were, yes, I mean, this isn't an inclusive document. It was put together by an environmental intern. Is it?
Yes,
Julie?
initially, yeah.
These are just, what that person came back with in terms of efficiencies and what we can do to as a council. So a lot of that stuff is already in process, I think, but we'll run through that. But it's certainly not inclusive. So if there's any other extra things that we would particularly like to go on there, I don't know.
The plan is approved by F&GP, so it belongs to F&GP.
Right.
So I think amendments to that plan need to be approved by F&GP.
Right.
Having said that, this subcommittee should be, as well as it says in 5, propose, design and lead on projects from the plan. I think that perhaps needs to have something in there to say to suggest new, as well as saying suggesting funding streams. It should be to propose or suggest additional, something like that. So I think you're right. It needs to be in there. The ideas need to come from this group to take that and then to grow from that. But that will always have to go back up to F&GP for approval.
Yeah. Okay. But great point. Absolutely. Are there any other things in there, John, that you thought that might need?
Well, no, as I just mentioned, just on the LC WIP.
Okay, so so with the LC WIP, I do get your point. Obviously, it is eventually going to be owned by West Sussex County Council. They have actually got their active travel plan review, which is ongoing at the moment, which I do have that document for, which I'll part of from today. I'll send it to Julie, and we can get that all forwarded off to everybody for any comments. And I do have working parties and things like that. So it's something that perhaps we could get involved with directly with them. But in terms of the LC WIP, it's not just, I mean, I don't know if you've managed to have a look at the thing, but it's not just those routes, it's things, it's items within the public realm that we can suggest, which might not necessarily need full approval, directly through West Sussex immediately. We can do it. So as an example, the Ship Street junction where the Ship pub is, that junction there as an area of public realm. But this isn't something that I've, it's just to give you an example of where I think it could work. So that junction there as a committee, we could propose that actually the junction is narrowed so that it's much better for people to walk and cross that road, as an example. So areas of like that in terms of that public realm, that would, I don't know the actual process, but how would that get proposed and then put through to West Sussex eventually, Julie?
It's my understanding is that we can submit community
highway schemes.
Thank you, because I couldn't even get the letters right, let alone what they stood for. CIH, a community highway scheme. So we could propose those through. The LC whip will be the LC whip, and obviously Mid Sussex, West Sussex, we're working through that. If we want to put forward new ideas and new changes or things that we want to do, we can. There's nothing to stop this committee and this council from having our own traffic surveys, engaging our own consultants, drawing up that scheme and then submitting it to council, county council. But of course, you must take the county council along with you, or you're going to spend an awful lot of money on things and then potentially get told no. So it needs to open the door. Yes, go away and look at that, bring it back to us, and then it's got more chance of being adopted as a community highway scheme. So I think that's my understanding of how it
that sounds great, actually. And we've both done walk arounds the town with the LC person, and it's everything from, it's not just, as I think we around this table now, it's not just like long cycle routes, etc. It's sort of drop curbs and improved surfacing and things like that. So actually, funny enough, and trees, exactly. And the point that you made just then about the Ship Street, so I sort of understand what you're saying there, but equally, I remember the chap who was the consultant saying that whole junction, including the roundabout on the junction with the London Road and High Street, that bit all the way through to the Ship junction is the most convoluted set of crossings ever. You wouldn't have a zebra crossing between two roundabouts, and the traffic can quite often get stuck. And so personally, I'd like to see a holistic, if we could actually really solve that.
I think point 6 allows you to do that. I think it gives you the flexibility, so you're fine. I would propose a small change to 5 to take on board the point that you said about other things, so that it would read: the subcommittee will propose, design and lead on projects from the plan and recommend new projects for adoption. And then it will start the next sentence: the subcommittee will also suggest funding streams. So if you're happy with that.
Very much so. So just to add some more context to that, what I've just said, prior to this committee being organised and arranged and everything, Julie and I had a very good meeting with Ben Coleman from PJA after the LC whip was put together, but it was after the elections. We didn't really know what was going to be happening. So we had a very good meeting with him, and in fact, he sent a really helpful email in terms of the process of what we could do in terms of next steps in the LC whip, because part of the LC whip, this is a personal opinion, it might not be accurate, but I just felt it was more of a desktop exercise. I don't think there's anybody at in Burgess Hill and Haywards Heath who are going to do anything. There's not going to be that much action, and I'd rather, as a town, we're in a position where we can actually at least have not some control, but we can keep things moving, if you see what I mean, which I think is important. So the recommendations, and partly of what the town clerk has just alluded to in terms of getting our own data put together for projects, particularly within the centre of the town. To begin with, would be quite a big step, and we can then use that data to get West Sussex to prioritise these schemes within East Grinstead, and look for funding. And I think also the other thing as well is that there's Active Travel England, which is a government body now, which is not chaired, but Chris Boardman's involved. And there's a reasonable degree of funds available, but I think there's West Sussex are in the wrong tier of being able to activate the funds coming through to them. So that's why there's an active travel strategy or plan. So they're looking to move up to become a local authority, which Active Travel England can then distribute funds to. So we're putting ourselves in a really strong position, I think. But it's not just about cycling lanes. You're right. It's not. It is more about walking and
Schools.
getting people out of their car, really. And part of for me personally as well is that I see this as it's not a magic bullet to congestion, but it's a large piece of a jigsaw that we can implement as a town council to look to alleviate some of the congestion within town. So with that in mind, do you have any questions, Julie?
No, I mean, I personally would like to see the schools on board with more walking to schools to alleviate.
Yeah. Hi, Lee.
So sorry.
That's all right.
It's all right. No, it's all right. No worries.
We accepted your apologies. We'll take them away now.
We thought you were in Bristol.
We thought you were
So,
away.
yeah, I'd like to see a sort of East Grinstead initiative that asks all of the schools to help get people walking or cycling to school.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's it's critical. I think
In
actually
terms
as
of
a
reference.
subcommittee we can
We're looking at
we can
terms of
help get
reference.
involved with that. One of the things that is very popular is bike buses, in conjunction with Sustrans, and there's potential there to really do a little pilot project with one school just to see how it works. Don't know what school yet, but
I'm working with my East Grinstead in Bloom hat on with Blackwell, not actually with the school, but with West Sussex, organising the triangle so that it becomes a safe place to walk across, because at the moment they're driving cars across it and it's just ridiculous. So West Sussex are drawing up plans, which I will make available, that we can sort of, and we've already done it at Windmill Lane. We've put the planters along there to stop cars parking, and it's a much safer route now for people walking.
yeah, no, that's great. I think anything like that is really, really positive. The bike bus scheme is run predominantly by volunteers, so it's parents. So that's where but I don't. It just needs that initial initiative from. This is where I think the subcommittee will come in really handy to get in contact with the school, explain the situation, speak to parents, and talk about it. Because I think there is I get emails from residents about, walking and cycling to school as a parent. So I know that there's big demand for it. And I think there's a big demand for, not stopping people driving to school, but it might mean that as a bike bus, you could pick up kids where they would normally be driven in, from around town to the school. That's why I think it's worth investigation. But that's the kind of thing that we can get involved with, I think, which would be very beneficial to the town. So just as a recap, Lee, we're just going through sort of the terms of reference at the moment, which we've just made a small amendment to item number 5. And John raised a question about the environmental schedule, the assessment, which is on your desk there, and how it works. Town Clerk said that basically, if we need to make any amendments to this, it has to go back to F&GP because it's owned by them. But within the terms of reference, we can add any new items that we think could work. And you said planting trees. That could be, something, within a target for the environment. How many trees do we plant every year and that kind of. I don't know. Just thinking out loud. Does that work? Is that sort of
Yeah, if you want to have a tree planting policy, we can have a tree planting policy. You've got to identify where you want to plant your trees.
Yes.
We are stuffed to the gunnels at East Court, and as we take away a tree, we put in a new one.
Yeah.
And obviously, we've actually put 2 or 3 new ones in this year. So we don't really have we don't have the land holdings to allow us to go out there and plant a load of trees. But that doesn't mean that there aren't areas in the town or in the parish which would facilitate more tree growth. So it's about identifying them, having a plan, working out how you're going to pay for it, and
absolutely.
and then doing it. Yeah,
Okay.
Nothing wrong with that.
All right. So that's
I just ask, so I'm all for tree planting, but equally, if one of the other committees is doing something and that also involves trees, I wouldn't want it to not be able to go forward because it has
I
to come.
can't see anywhere where we've got tree planting on anybody else's agenda.
No,
there will be
part of A&T.
Yeah, part of A&T will be to do with the estate management, but our policy is, because we're in a conservation area anyway, one tree goes, another tree goes in its place. So it's kind of it's a self-serving policy. So it doesn't need to have.
So it's something that we can monitor within and make recommendations.
Yeah. One of the key things in the terms of reference as well, as we're on that, is the neighbourhood plan as well, which I see environment and active and sustainable travel as being a key component in the next draft. We're moving forward with that in terms of new developments, particularly, and also where S106 monies get spent. And also we were talking about ideas for S106 money as well, I think, weren't we, Town Clerk? You mentioned that. So from a sustainable travel, an environment aspect, what do we as a council want when developments come forward? I think the idea really is that we have an idea of what we need, so that we can then, where does it go? Does it go on a list?
Yeah, the district council has there's 2 things to talk about. The district council has an infrastructure plan which determines where developer contributions should be being spent. So they've sat there and they've worked it out, and they've thought, we need to do, if we're going to have this amount of growth over the next 10, 20, 30 years, we need to have these things happen. And they've identified various different projects which will need to be done. And those things go, so when development comes through, they should be picking from that list to say, this is where we want the Section 106 monies to go when they agree them with the developer. As the town council planning committee, which obviously this committee can feed into, the planning committee, when we agree or when we comment on planning applications and we see developments come through, as part of our recommendation to the district, we can say we would like a Section 106 allocation for a play park for this particular development. We would like consideration for primary schooling or whatever. With regard, think from this committee's point of view, it's about how we ensure that the amenities and facilities are within the neighbourhoods, so that you don't end up with everybody having to cross the town all the time to go to a school or whatever. That you've got the facilities locally, and we can help to facilitate that by making those comments through the planning applications, asking where the Section 106 should be spent. But we have to be mindful to the bigger plan that the district already have in place, which is their infrastructure plan, where they have already gone through this process and said, if we're going to have these sites developed, then we're going to need to have a new hospital, a new secondary school, whatever it might be. And we can obviously influence that, if you like.
Okay. But something like a new bridge going over from connecting the Worth Way to the station, for example.
We certainly could. That will be a county council rather than a district council infrastructure plan. I don't know how the county council work theirs, do you? No, I don't know how. I honestly don't know how that works. That's something we have to go and find out. I don't know that the district obviously have their infrastructure plan, which I assume must include things like bridges and things, because they obviously have schools and stuff in there. But all of those things, of course, get transferred out because they are county responsibility, not district responsibility.
Right.
So there must be a link between the two, but I'm not absolutely sure how that works, to be honest.
Okay.
Interesting point.
Thank you. I think everything else looks okay from my point of view. I don't know. Anybody else got more comments on that? No. Okay. So I just put down, you know, I thought it'd be handy to know what the committee is really not responsible for, but what our aims and goals would be, which are obviously going to change, you know, as time goes on. But cycling and walking and wheeling will be the natural first choice for short journeys in and around town for all age groups, school, leisure and work. Enable the whole town to feel safe when walking, wheeling and cycling, help fight congestion, help to improve air quality and improve our health and well-being. Be happy. A lot of that is standard stuff, which fits in with government policy at the moment anyway. So it's quite fitting from that perspective. But then the objectives with regards to what we're looking to do: connect all areas of East Grinstead and surrounding villages in the town centre, be a key component in the planning process and their plan, find innovative ways to enable the community to use their cars less, support the local economy, benefit those in the community who don't have access to a car, keep our streets safe so that our vulnerable road and pavement users can move around freely and safely, become a town that encourages and celebrates those who walk, wheel and cycle, and more than half of all journeys in East Grinstead will be walking and wheeling or cycling, which again falls in with government policy. So that's the kind of objectives that we're looking to do and use as a framework for all of our decision making. But that we can add, delete, you know, and amend those if you have a read through and let me know. That would be great.
Before we move on from terms of reference, can we formally approve the terms of reference as shown in the agenda with the amendment that I read out earlier, so that we can propose those to F and G?
Okay, I propose that we go ahead with the terms of reference with the slight amendment to point number 5 the town clerk's going to make. Can I have a second? Thank you. All those in favour?
That's lovely. Thank you very much.
I'm getting the hang of it now. Sorry. Item number 6, initial projects. Determine the projects and priority for the subcommittee. So what are your thoughts then, Pete?
Chair, do you want to go through some of the papers that we've passed out? Because obviously the subcommittee members won't have been aware of these. I know you've talked about the environmental project report. That's fine. Yeah. But I just wonder if you want to talk a little bit about what else you've given them with regards to the LC whip and the flow papers.
Yes, certainly. That's a great idea. Thank you. So everyone's got a copy of the LC whip. Be great if you could have a little read of that over the next couple of weeks. It's a very interesting document. It's been adopted at Mid Sussex already. It's going to go to West Sussex soon, and it was adopted at the end of March. So it's been around for a little bit, but it's very informative. There's quite a bit of data in there, and the key areas really, you've got the combined prioritization scores. There's details of the routes, the map that is the important area. I've forgotten where it is now. The big map with all of the routes.
Oh, no.
No, it's a map of the town. So it's on page 5.3.
Yeah, 55.
53.
Page 50. Oh.
55. 53, which is all of the, these are the 7 routes
53.
that the consultants looked at the whole of the town and came back with, in terms of those are the priority routes that would be looked at, and the connectivity for it. They're not in particular order, so A is not, wouldn't be the first item, but it was quite interesting from you can see that item B starts on the Worth Way and then goes through town and onto the one-way system, interestingly, and then down Moat Road. And then the A22 using Beeching Way came up very strong in terms of the data that people use. And then a lot of the other, what struck me when I was speaking to Ben was that there's quite a number of them linked schools. So the green route, I think was D, comes off of the Holteye Road and goes up to the A22, connecting Escotts and Sackville, as an example. So there's that. The other thing that isn't listed on there is St Margaret's Loop, because that wasn't ready in terms of.
My favourite bit as well.
So
Lane.
Loudell's. Well, the idea, the thing with an LC Rippers, it's got to be the routes that they suggest are the most direct and convenient. So Loudell's Lane does come up from the parallel with the A22, I think, doesn't it? So from a highways perspective, the A22 is the most direct, convenient route. It might not be at the moment, it's not the safest. But that's why that's detailed in there. The other thing as well, which is quite interesting, was that there are some other pieces of information that I've got kind of printed off, which are traffic flow maps of the town, which were omitted from the LCW. So these are quite interesting maps in terms of traffic flow around the town, which I can understand why they were probably left out of the LCW, if I'm being brutally honest, because Burgesshill and Hayward were not as blue as East Grinstead.
Nowhere near.
So I think that's just a legacy of the A22, really, and so on. So that's quite useful data to have, actually, in terms of traffic flows. And also the other thing that that they did was it was also through traffic as well within the town and around the town at certain times of the day and evening. So again, this is quite important data that we have now that we can use when we're proposing any new public realm improvements, or whatever we need to do, whatever we decide.
Yeah, Chair, if I can just come in there. We made it very clear to Mid Sussex when we asked for this paperwork, we were not asking for this in order to make it public information and to start making a call for bypasses and things like that. Again, that wasn't the purpose of the request. The request was to help this subcommittee working on areas of congestion to really see what the flow of traffic is like at these peak times of the day, and to see the other routes as well, which are on here. And it's fascinating information because it really does tell you where those peak the most used flow routes are, and it's all going to be really valuable with regards to trying to work out what could or should be done with regards to trying to encourage people to stop these intertown journeys, because that's what you've got. You've got people going through the town, you've got people not stopping in the town, you've got the whole position of the peak times. But we're not concentrating on how busy the A22 is. What we're concentrating on is how people get onto those roads, and what could we do? Which of these journeys could we stop in order to make the whole picture better even though we've still got this main artery running through the town. I hope that's helpful, Chair.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. John, did you say you wanted to? Oh, I thought you said.
Yeah, I just want to make it really clear that this wasn't about Mid Sussex bashing.
No,
We got this, and we were very clear to them as to what our purpose was, that we were asking for it, and it's really useful.
Very, yeah. Any questions? No. Good. That's very easy. Has it also come up at Mid Sussex at all? Your trainings, right?
Not really. We haven't really had meetings yet.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else that I need to touch on that?
No, you're on to initial projects. So, what do the subcommittee want you to? Or want to start considering first? Are there any priorities? Do they not want to think about that today and want to go away and come back with that? I don't know.
Anybody? Any thoughts? Any sort of priorities that we'd like to sort of kick off with? I mean, I'm happy for you.
Schools, which is useful.
Yeah, I would like to see safer routes to schools, more encouragement of cycling and walking, less reliance on the car.
Okay. Yep.
If they all start singing from the same song sheet, then it might peter out a bit better.
Yes. Yeah. The other thing that is moving in the background as well is the bike hire schemes, which is we're just waiting for Evolve Estates to come back to us and Southern Trains. The idea there is to have a station, a docking station at the station for the bike hire, and also at Queen's Walk as well, so people can leave their bikes and then bring them back if they need to, just as a trial. And I think this is sort of a 6-month trial. The only drawback is that because of the delay, the timing might not be right. So we might not start the trial until spring next year potentially, because you don't want to over winter. I don't think it'd be very well used. They won't give us the right data, so I'd rather not set us up for a failure on that one if we can. But I mean, that's still open to.
What's our thought on bus routes? I mean, are we going to encourage people onto buses as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Buses are if a tenth of those intertown journeys were undertaken by bus rather than individual car, that would take a lot of traffic off the road.
Yeah.
And also connectivity with the villages outside around as well is something that.
Conversation about buses, didn't we?
Yeah, with the guy, we think about the other guy out there. I can't remember the company, the bus company.
The old Bluebird, Sussex Community Travel, CTS, CST, whatever they call themselves. The old Bluebirds, the old egg bus. Take it right back. Take it right back. The old egg bus.
Yeah. So whether they could get involved in terms of getting people from West Hazley into East Grinstead more frequently and easier.
Is that bus route still running that dropped to Aldi and they were using to get to the surgery from? Remember when we were on public services?
That was Aldi's own bus route that they put in, wasn't it? I haven't heard it stopped, but I don't know if that was just put in as a sweetener when the shop first opened.
Because it would be good if it was, because it is of its close proximity to Moatfield.
I think that's a great idea. That connectivity and getting people in there. I mean, like Julie said, if we can make inroads in terms of the number of people short distances not using their car, it will make a massive difference around town completely. It's just changing people's minds.
Where
did the Aldi bus run? Did it go out through the Imperhorn estate and then into?
I think it
Aldi?
did. Yes, it sort of went on a circuitous route.
My vague.
other
I'll ring
thing-
Aldi and ask them. I don't
I
know.
have got a bugbear
Why
about
did it stop?
something.
Why did it stop?
It may not have done. I don't know. I'll ring Aldi and ask them. if
It's
still
just people
running.
not knowing about it.
Yeah.
So if we could sort of elevate its stature. The other thing is, having walked past it today, is ice cream vans that have their diesel engine running outside of schools in order to facilitate Mr. Whippy cones. Parked on double yellow lines as well.
Oh, right. Well, they're all licensed by Mid Sussex District Council,
I'm
and
on licence.
and they're all licensed by there, and they know that they are not entitled to park on double yellow lines. They also know they're not entitled to enter into private land without permission. And as you go in here between 3 and 4 o'clock, you will find at least 3 that come on here without permission. But we tackle them. But of course, around the town, it's much more difficult. But I think that's a question perhaps the licensing committee needs to address.
I've got a picture for John.
Excellent.
I mean, I would really like to make some progress or inroads in terms of the next steps from the LC
I
perspective.
think probably we need to try and work out what our priorities are going to be. So
Yeah.
when the funding does become available, we also need from say this year.
And we can hit it
Yeah.
and get it.
Is that what you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether that's bigger projects and smaller ones, just so that we've got something to say.
Yes. Yeah.
So is that an action for the next meeting that everyone's going to thought about it and brings that back
Yes,
in?
please.
Okay.
Yeah, as a priority.
Yeah, because at the moment we've just got those routes A, B, C, D, E, F, etc. But which of those is our
Absolutely.
one at a time?
Yeah.
Or in all the reality is that the funding will come up. Not to fund them all at the same time. So where would we?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Where do we start?
Where did we start? So I think that would be a great start, and I think there's moving forward there'll be plenty of opportunity for some working groups to look at some of the other things that we can get some really good decent wins early on. I'll have a think about that as well. Other things that were mentioned in the terms of reference was the Bike to Work week, which is in October, but there's also the cycle. Sorry, that's in June, and then there's also the Cycle to School week, which is at the end of September as well. Which it would be great as a council if we can get involved with that and promote that too. There's the Kidical Mass community bike ride is. We had one in June. There's going to be one in September, to coincide with that Cycle to School week as well, which would be good. So we can sort of tie that in, and that's where I see we would link in with Alice in promotions and stuff to get the ball rolling with that. So potentially Alice could be invited to one of these meetings, and we could talk about stuff that would involve.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, when you want that on the agenda, we'll get Alice along.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing as well is St Margaret's Loop, but there's that A&T thing.
It isn't. It's A&T stroke full council at the moment. Once it has progressed from where it currently is, and remaining optimistic if we do get the land transfer, then I suspect there'll probably be a working group alongside A&T, which might want to work specifically on St Margaret's Loop. And obviously members from this group could sit on there if they want to. It links in with everybody. Yeah. But it's going to be that is going to be such a significant project that I think if you put it into this subcommittee, it's going to swamp you.
No, that's fine. Yeah. I'm quite happy about that. Let's think. On my list of stuff, I think to begin with, I think that's fine. I think we're otherwise we could have a list of 20 things and then find out we don't, and achieve nothing. So
Perhaps we should have a look. Sorry, Chairman. Perhaps we should have a look again and just go through that list and those that aren't here as well, and just feed it in between terms so that we're
Yes.
hitting the ground running.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll do that. Next steps and actions. Well, that I think we've highlighted what we're going to be doing next. I was just thinking dates and times of ongoing meetings. Town clerk. At the moment, every committee meets every 3 months. My initial thoughts were that's probably a little bit too long, really. Otherwise, we're just going to be drifting for a bit, and it's important to have some build some momentum at the beginning of this process.
Not going to get those quick wins as looking like it.
No, I was
If we
thinking
go away
maybe
and think about things for 3 months.
maybe meet every month,
Just going to say this.
if that's possible. There is some flexibility in the meeting times as well, isn't there, Town Clerk? I think
Absolutely.
Wednesday at 4 o'clock is great.
Is a
Or
good time.
there could potentially be a Thursday evening.
Yes.
So if we say we can keep it for, I mean, I was just thinking it would be great if Helen was here as well, but I think it's the end of term. So 4 o'clock might be a bit too early if we were going to move forward. Maybe could we do a 4:30?
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. If you were going to look at it at a Wednesday, you can't go too late because you're going to run into the evening events happening on Wednesdays. But 4:30 start is absolutely fine.
Yeah,
You're talking an hour and a half.
yeah.
Fine.
Okay.
Generally speaking, I can work around something like that. Today was a little bit different.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, it's absolutely. Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, but so if we say like 4:30 on a monthly basis, that'd be great.
Wednesday's good.
And I think we'll be able to sort of crack on with some projects. Oh yeah, okay, great. Does anybody else have any more thoughts? Lee, anything?
This is not really relevant, but I thought I'd mention it anyway. In Bristol, I think they have scooters as opposed to bikes, that you can use. But yeah, really popular. There was the stands were kind of empty, people want them all the time. So I know it's different circumstances, but that both are.
Yeah,
When they're there, people do use that.
Yeah, they are very popular.
Even if it's raining.
And when you rent them, you can legally ride them on the road.
Scooters or e-scooters?
E-scooters.
Obviously, we would go.
No, if you rent them, you are allowed to ride them. You are allowed,
okay.
you're allowed.
As long as
It's
they're
only if
legal.
private.
As
If
long as
they're
they're legal.
privately owned, you're not allowed on the public highway. But people still do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I was going to say something else, and I think I lost it in that little bit just now. I'm sure if it was important, I'll bring it up again at some point.
Okay. Awesome. I think that's it. We'll go and get those minutes all moved out. But moving forward, LC Whip, schools, active travel to schools and from schools, and connectivity and buses, I think, are another good option. We'll start with those three and move on from there, really. So thank you very much. I'll close this meeting at 5 o'clock.